Hey traders, Nick Sheen here looking at Nike after the earnings. Before I go any further, if you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, go ahead and do so. At the end, there's a little pop-up on the left-hand side, I think, of the video. You can just click on it and subscribe. It's free, and I send out videos all the time. But if you don't subscribe there, you won't know about it. Okay, so they reported earnings last night. The initial shock was a dip of like 4% on the headline, mainly because they missed on the earnings, and that's not very typical of them, especially that the earnings weren't that tough to meet. However, the report was pretty darn good, given that the problems they have in China, the problems that exist in China as far as sourcing, the high dollar, and they addressed everything. The U.S. results were double as expected, and China was pretty darn good. They still grew growth there, I believe, earnings, I should say. Or the top line, I can't remember, but it was good results given all the tough headwinds that they had. So definitely not a reason to sell it down 5%, especially that it wasn't that high to begin with. So what's going on? So this is a daily chart on Nike. This candle is doji-ish. What does that mean? It's indecisive. It's a visualization that the stock market wanted to sell it, wanted to rally it. They don't know, so they come back. They want to close in the middle. So there's a little mini lesson about what a doji is. It's a candle that says the market, I don't know. I love it. No, I hate it. No, wait. I don't know, so I'm going to close it exactly where it opened, thereabouts. Okay, so Friday, 6:28, ahead of the G20 Trump-Xi meeting. We'll see what happens. So markets are nervous anyway. So it's plus a little bit, minus a little bit, but up from 4% down. So pretty darn good result, I would say. So there are opportunities. The first one is above the high of today. So somewhere like 85, it could gather some heat. And if I extend it, I'll show you. This will be the trigger really that I would be looking for. This is the first hurdle. This is definitely a spot where they would fall, and eventually they could recover this. I'm not calling for it, but it's a possibility. Short term, this is a threat because this would be a head and shoulders, and this is neckline. Somewhere down here would be the target. This needs to hold, or worse things happen. So let's zoom out. I'm going to go to 1 year. That's 1 year. That's the Christmas debacle for the whole market. This is way too much. But this pattern, if they lose this yellow line, will technically drop it to here. I'm not calling for it. Technically, that's what the technicians would say if it falls below it, that it should carry a lot lower. For me, that would mean that the whole market is pretty messed up. So this is a weekly chart. Gives us a little more perspective. So this zone right here, in fact, if I extend it left and right, will be a pretty pivotal zone, somewhere around 65. It's not a hard line in the sand. It was big resistance up until November of 2015. Back again, big battle through, when is that? 2018, and then boom, off to the races. Big test in Christmas of last year, 2018, held. That's ideal. When you see a stock break out, they want to go back and retest the neckline. The bulls stomp on it. Yep, it's solid footing. I can go higher. Theoretically speaking, it should do something like this to go higher. But it would need the whole market to do that. So it is a market-dependent trade. If the markets are higher down the line, Nike is going to be higher. They're the leader. They haven't had a challenger in forever. Every challenger dies. Every controversy becomes an opportunity for them. They are monsters when it comes to marketing. I wouldn't short them. So how far down the line is it? That's the question per person. If I'm a long-term investor that I want to hand something over to my kids, I'd buy it and forget about it. I wouldn't try to nitpick, oh, is this perfect or is that perfect? Over the long term, it's not going to matter. Over the short term, how I would trade it, I'm not a monster bull on it, so I would rather sell puts than buy calls. So what does selling put mean? It means I sell some risk below where other people are afraid, and I wait for time to do the job for me. And I will share a table that in the write-up that has all the trade setups, and it shows where I would sell puts or put spreads, depends on the preference. And is it next week, the week thereafter, 2 weeks plus, out to October, or out to December? I have all of them. And I'll also share which ones I prefer. I definitely don't want to fight the short fight, so I don't want to go into next week myself, but they're available. And selling puts naked, the idea is to basically sell somebody some insurance. So if there's somebody out there nervous about owning Nike below 70, they'll say, hey, anybody that wants to buy my stock at 70, can we write up a contract on that? Say, sure, here, give them. In fact, here's a put. Here's a piece of paper that says, I'll buy your stock at 70 or lower if it goes lower than this. For that privilege, they hand me money. That money goes into my account. That's what happens when I sell a put. I'm committing to buying the shares off of somebody's hands out there that is afraid to hold Nike below X. And this is where I do my own homework. Everybody's different. Some people like to sell it right here. Some people like to buy the stock right here, so they sell the put right there. Some people say, you know what, I don't want it anywhere until it hits 60, so they'll look at somewhere if there's a value for 60 puts. It all depends on how far out in time you want to do it. So Nike in general, the report wasn't that bad. The initial minus 5% reaction was overdone. It's not a screaming buy, but if I were a technician, I could argue for if depends on how the price unfolds in the whole market, this could be going on here. So I showed you one line to overcome, a second line which would bring this one, which also be resistance and a trigger. So how do stocks break out? They hit a resistance, they fail. They hit a resistance, they fail until they finally prevail. So yes, resistance, double top, triple top, whatever you hear all the naysayers out there, they have valid points, but that's how the breakout happens. It's impossible to break out without attacking the trouble zones. So it has a few trouble zones ahead and a few support lines below. Pick your poison and go with the Nike. All right, Nick signing out.